So we're on Daf Yud Zayin, and we're up to Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'kulan lipsul, which is about 4 lines down from the top of the Amud. So we had a list of different locations, and we assume the possibility, at least, that anyone coming from any of those locations has the halachic status of a mamzer. And the reason for that is because those locations that we enumerated have a heavy concentration of Aseres Hashvatim, the 10 lost tribes, who got mixed up amongst the Goyim and married non-Jewish women. Their children, born from non-Jewish women, have the status, according to Rabbi Yochanan at least, of Jews. However, although they're Jewish, they are mamzerim. And that's because their mothers, in each case, the mother is Jewish. Ki amrisa kame de Shmuel, when this statement came in front of Shmuel, that if a guy would have a kiddushin with a Bas Yisrael, then we have to worry about the possibility of a valid kiddushin. Amar li Shmuel responded, based on the pasuk in Dvarim Zayin, it says, "V'lo tischatein bam bitcha lo sitein livno, ubito lo sikach lebnecha, ki asiris bincha me'acharai, v'avdu Elohim acherim." And what do we derive from this pasuk? Says Shmuel, bincha, which in this case means the son of your daughter, haba min Yisraelis. So it means that this ben that comes from your daughter has a Jewish mother. Kori bincha, he's considered your ben. And about him, the Torah is warning sheyasir ha'av hanochri oso me'achori Hashem. The influence of his non-Jewish father is going to take him away from Hashem. The ein bincha haba min ha'ovedes kalcham kori bincha el b'na. However, if your son chas v'shalom intermarries with a goyita, then the child of that marriage is not your ben, because his mother is not Jewish. So in other words, it doesn't say that a bas nachri shetinase lebincha he tasir as bincha. So we're not talking about a child from a non-Jewish mother. But if it's from bitcha, who got married to a non-Jew, then the child is Jewish, and the nachri, the non-Jewish father, we suspect will be Maser. Maser means he'll take him away from the right path. So therefore, it comes out, according to Shmuel, there's no chashash of kiddushin of an oved kochavim bizman hazeh, because even if his father was perhaps one of the Aseres Shvatim, but nevertheless, since his mother is not Jewish, then he has the status of a non-Jew for all dinim. So the Gemara asks Akash, okay, so you're not worried about the Aseres Hashvatim ha'ika banos, but amongst the Aseres Hashvatim, we have not only the male members of the Aseres Hashvatim, we have the female members, and if they marry out of the faith, if they marry an Oved Kochavim, then their children are Jewish. And then we have a problem of Mamzeris. So this is the Gemara's objection to Shmuel. Amar Avina, the Torah warned us, Bitcha lo site libno, ki yasir es bincha me'acharai, shma mina ben bitcha, bo ben ovdi kochavim, karui bincha. The son of your daughter, even though your daughter was married to an akum, to a guy, and the father of this child is a guy, nevertheless, the Torah considers it as bincha. This is your grandson, so to speak. So we see that this son and his status depends upon his mother. If the mother is Jewish, he's Jewish. But even though the father is non-Jewish, and if it's the reverse, the father is non-Jewish, that's a whole different story. I'm sorry, if the mother is non-Jewish, that's a whole different story. But in any event, we have to be worried about Kiddushin here, because perhaps the mother of this child is one of the Benos Aseres Hashvatim, and therefore the child is Yisrael Mamzer. He's a Jewish boy, but he's a Mamzer. So the Gemara answers, Gemiri de Binsa Dahu Dara Itztruye Itztru. We have a Kabbalah, we have a transmission that those Banos from the 10 tribes, the lost tribes, that went into exile in what we call Golus Ashur, something happened to their reproductive organs, their internal organs, in such a way that they became barren. They could not carry a child. So therefore, we don't have any chashash that the children coming from those places, those locations, are the offsprings of those women from the Aseres Hashvatim, because those women were barren. They couldn't have children. Therefore, what we have to worry about is the children of a non-Jewish woman. Ika Diamri, there's another version of Shmuel. Ki Amrisi, when the statement of the Chash Kiddushay Ovei Kocham Tzman Hazeh was presented, coming to Shmuel in front of Shmuel, Amar Li, Shmuel responded, Lo Zazu Misham, which means that the Bezdin in that generation didn't move from the spot at Shasum Ke'ovdei Kochavim Gmurim. They said that any of the children from the Aseres Hashvatim have the full-fledged status of non-Jews. And any Kiddushin that took place, they were mafkia the Kiddushin. And L'chol Davar Asum Ka'akum, they gave him the status of a guy for all dinim. Shekei Nemar, it says in Hosea Novi, Ba'ashem Bagadu, Ki Banim Zarim Yoladu. So the bottom line of this is that any of the children coming from the Aseres Hashvatim, their status as far as Jewish law is concerned, or if they give Kiddushin, is equal to that of an Oved Kochavim. It's the same as a God. We don't have to worry about that Kiddushin. That Kiddushin is Batel Umevuta. Yosef, Rav Yosef Achorid, Rav Kahana. Yosef Rav Kahana coming to Rav Yehuda. So Rav Yehuda was teaching, and behind him was Rav Kahana. Behind Rav Kahana was Rav Yosef. The Yosef Akama, and this is what Rav Yehuda is teaching. Asidim Yisrael di avde yoma tava ki charva tarma. Ultimately, we're going to have a celebration at the time of the destruction of Tarmod, because the people from Tarmod are mamzerim, and they're getting mixed up amongst the Jewish nation, and they're creating paslus, ribui psulim b'Yisrael. So Gemara asks, "V'harei chariv, what are you talking about?" La'asid lavo, the city of Tarmod was already destroyed; it's in desolation. The Gemara answers, "Ahi Tamod havo." You should not confuse two cities that have similar names. One is called Tarmod, and the other is called Tamod, without the resh. Tarmod has not yet been destroyed. That'll be destroyed, L'Asid Lavo. Rav Ashi Omar, Rav Ashi is going to take a different approach. Hainu Tarmod, Hainu Tamod. There's no difference between the two. It's all one city, but it wasn't completely destroyed. Ichpule Udimekapel. It's a partial destruction. And Ikpule Udimekapel, it's like you clone it. You know, you have a double city, because one part of the city is has one complexion and the other a different complexion. Charev mehai gisa. On this side, if you come in, let's say, from the north, for example, you'll find the destruction. But on the other hand, it's osiv mehai gisa. If you go to the other side, let's go to the south side of the city, then the city is standing in perfect shape. But the charev mehai gisa, osiv mehai gisa. If it was destroyed on one side, but then it was not destroyed on the other side, and therefore we understand Rabbi Yehuda that we should make a yontif when finally the ultimate complete destruction of Talmud will take place. Yosef Rav Hamnuna kami to Ula. Rav Hamnuna is sitting in front of Ula, and Ula is the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says something, we'll call it disparaging, about his Talmud. What happens? V'kahavi b'shmatita. They were learning this sugya of who is a mamzer and who's Jewish and who's not Jewish. Amar and Ula, who's the Rebbe, he says to Rav Hamnuna, Ma gavru, ma gavru. You're great. You're the greatest. Who could have your car? However, you have one big blemish. Thumbs down. Ilav tarpanya meyaseh. The trouble is that you're coming from a place called Harpania. And in the place called Harpania, there's a lot of mixed marriage. We don't trust any of the people from Harpania to be what we call miyuchasim, that they have a yichus in the Jewish sense. Ichsif. Rav Hamnuna became white. He became embarrassed. Amalei, Ula now responds, Kesaf Gulgolta lehecha yahavit. Lehecha means to wear, yahavit means to give, and Kesaf is the money of Gulgolta. Kesaf Gulgolta is the tax. So which city do you pay taxes to? You're a city of a certain municipality, and will establish your citizenship if you can prove that you're paying taxes there. Amalei, so Rav Hamnuna responds, Lipum Nara. I pay taxes to the city of Pum Nara. Amalei, so finally Ula backtracks. He says, Mkemi Pum Nara at, if you're paying taxes there, you're not our Panya guy. And therefore, we don't have to worry about your yichus or the lack thereof. Omar Rava, my harpanya, Omar Rabbi Zera, harpanya is what we call notrike. It's a shortened form of a few words. And they are har, shakol ponim bo. In other words, all the psulim, those who are disqualified to enter into Klal Yisrael, gravitate towards these places in order to find a wife. Because in those places, there are no miyuchasim. Everybody's all mixed up over there. So you can rest assured you'll be able to find a marriage partner. No one's going to disqualify you. B'masnisa tana, kol she'ein makir mishpachto v'shifto. Who are the people who are gravitating to harpanya? It's someone who doesn't know his yichus mishpacha. He doesn't know his origin, where he's coming from. And therefore, people don't want to marry him. They don't want to give their daughters to marry him. Nifna l'sham, they go and gravitate towards this Harpanya place because there anybody will agree to marry. They're not choshish for psulim. They don't disqualify anyone. Omar Rava, he amuka. This Harpanya is very deep. Deep meaning it's down in the other place, if you know what I mean. Yosef Mishaol. Shaol is Gehenna. Shenemar. Okay, there's a pasuk in Hoshea regarding the evil of this place called Harpanya. Shenemar miyad Shaol avdem mimoves egolem. He says that those who are down in Gehenna, in Shaol, have a takana. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the future will redeem them from there. The ilu psul did who? However, with regard to the disqualification of Bnei Harpanya, less lehu takant. There will never be a takana. They will remain forevermore psulim. And the Gemara explains why are the Bnei Harpanya possible? Psuli d'Harpanya mishum psuli d'Meishon. It's because of the close proximity of Harpanya to Meishon. Psuli Meishon mishum psuli d'Tarmud. Meaning there's a close proximity between Meishon and Tarmud, and the psulim from Tarmud penetrated into Meishon. And what's the source for the psulim of Tarmud? That's Mishum Avdei Shlomo. These were rich Avodim, and they took Jewish girls as their wives, and they settled over there. Their offspring are Mamzerim. V'hainu di Amri Inshi. Zeu ha'maimer ha'shogru b'fiyim shel b'nei Adam, kaba rabba v'kama zuta, which means efa gedol of efa tana, large measure and a small measure. All ha'psulim ha'ktanim ha'gedol. Is migander v'ozil, which means that mizgalgalim v'holchin l'shaol. They roll down to a very bad place called Shaol. Umi Shaol l'tarmod, umi tarmod l'meishan, umi meishan l'harpanya. So all the Gilgulim take you finally to Harpanya. Hadron alecha chameshis reinosh. Now we begin, Be'ezer Hashem, the second perek of Yevamot. Eitzad eishes achiv shelo hoya bolamo. So we have a case now of Reuven and Shimon. They're married, two brothers married to Sarah and Rivka. Reuven dies without children, and his wife Sarah falls for Yibum to his brother Shimon. Benolad lem ach. Immediately before the Yibum of Sarah by Shimon, a new brother is born, Levi. Now, the moment that Levi was born, Sarah, who's the surviving wife of her late husband Reuven, is asura love mishum eches achiv shelo ba'olam. The achar kach Yibem. Now Shimon comes along, and he's miyabim Sarah. Is Yibem Hasheni es Eshes Achiv. Shimon now is miyabem the wife of Reuven, the late Reuven. Because again, Reuven and Shimon coexisted. Then now Shimon dies. And both Sarah and Rivka fall for Yibum in front of Levi. In this case, we're going to apply the Ptur Sarah, which means that Shtein Pturos mi Yibum v'chalitza. And why is that? First, we start with Sarah, Harishona. And she was married later on after the Yibum was consolidated to Shimon. So Rishona shes yabn l'Shimon yotza v'nif teres midin Yibum l'Levi mishum eishes achim shlo haya b'olama. And this is because of the Ishus of Reuven. Because as far as Levi is concerned, since he did not coexist with Reuven, the Torah did not impose upon him the mitzvah of Yibum. They weren't b'yeshiva achas ba'olam, and therefore it's eishes ach. Vashnia, and the wife of Shimon is also asur l'Levi mishum tzarasa, because she is the tzara of eishes achiv shelo haya b'olam. And here he writes, Ein ze ela kishakonas Shimon kodem mosoch es Sarah eishes Reuven. So now we know that we're talking about a case where Shimon married Sarah with Yibum. The late Reuven's wife, Sarah, now had Yibum with Shimon. And that's what we call Yibum Gomur Minator. And Rivka now becomes his second wife. Now, Tzarasa shel Sarah asur mishum erva. Avalo ba'aleh ela, he didn't consummate the Yibum with Rivka. I'm sorry, with Sarah. But Asaba Maimon, he gave her Kedusha Kesem Kedusha Shtar. In the case of Yibum, the Torah only recognizes Bia, not Kesem and Shtar. Umes. Now Shimon dies. He never actually consummated the Yibum with Sarah, but he gave her a Maimon. What's the deal with Rivka, the Shnia, as we call her? And the answer is choletzes v'lo misyabemes. Now let's understand. Again, on a deraisa level, Maimer is not kona b'yavam. It's only d'Rabbana. So Sarah is really not considered Ishto Shel Shimon, only b'miktas. And therefore, even though Sarah is P'tur min ha'chalitza min ha'yibum, because all that's left alive is Levi, and he's Eishes Achut Shel Haya B'olamo, is nevertheless Rivka Chayeves B'chalitza mi Levi. And why is that? Mishum d'Oraisa Eina Tzaras Erva. On a Doraisa level, Rivka does not have the status of a Tzaras Erva because the Kedushay Maimar of Shimon for Sarah were not valid doraisa, because as we said before, Yevamot is only nikneis bia. So why can't the tzara be misyabemes? Okay, the eish is achim shaloi b'olama, that's one thing. But what about the tzara? And the answer is, although Kedusha Maimar are not Kedusha Doraisa on the Drabanan, we do validate them as Kedusha. And therefore, Rivka, becomes the Tzaras Erba Mirabanan by virtue of the Maimar that Shimon had given to Sarah. So Mirabanan, it's a Tzara of an Ervas Achim Shalohoya Bolam. Omar Rav Nachman. Apparently, there's another Gerson at Mishnah. Instead of reading Harishona Yotza Mishum Eishes Achiv Shalo Haya Bolav Ashniya Mishum Sarasa, we have another Gersa of Shniya Yotza. So Mandatani Rishona, according to that opinion in the Amoraim, that the word Rishona is lo mishtabish. It's not a mistake. If the girsa that you have is Rishona l'sara shenafel fnei levi shtei pavim, lo mishtabish enaton. But even man detani shniya l'sara, it means l'rivka hu kore Rishona. So again, in the two girsos, we have, according to one girsa, Sarah is called the Rishona, and according to another girsa, the word Shniya, lo mishtamish. That's not a mistake either. And now Rav Nachman explains his point. Man de Tani Rishona,